everyone, my name is Kat and welcome back to the Broadway Bound podcast. Today is episode 6 and I'm going to be talking about why I love theater, aka the magic of contemporary theater, and it's going to be a really fun one because I'm just going to talk about, why I fell in love with it and all the cool parts of theater. So yeah, let's get right into it. I think the standout of just theater in general, of why it's so, magical, is obviously the audience interaction. I feel like especially with all of these streaming services nowadays where you can watch pretty much anything that you want, just on your phone, movies and stuff, you're not super connected to the story. It's more of just a thing that you do. But when you go and see a show, you're in the show almost. You're experiencing it with them and with the characters, and I feel like it just brings you in so much more. And there's nothing like it, right? Even 3D movies, there's just it's nothing like the experience of being in the presence of these characters and seeing it right there. Is really cool. And I think that's one of the reasons why I think theater is going to stay around. I don't think it's ever going to go away because it's so refreshing to go and see a show, see a story right there in front of you and immerse you in it, in that. And I think especially for people who haven't gone to see theater and are kind of try to go see a professional show. I know in San Diego, you can go to the La Jolla Playhouse. You can see show tours at the Civic Theater, the Old Globe. These are all great, reputable theaters. SDMT, all great theater companies that will produce good quality theater. Don't base it off of your one experience going to see a middle school musical or high school production. I just strongly recommend going to see a professional production if you're kind of hesitant about theater and the magic. It's not obviously for everyone, but I think it's something that everyone should definitely try. So a big part of theater for me is the music. I have been very musically inclined since I was little. Just starting when I was 3, I was taking dance classes and performing with them, and I've been singing as long as I can remember. So always been very musically inclined. Music really speaks to me, and I think I love music in theater because it really tells a story. I mean, there's a difference between music that you hear on the radio where it's oh, that's a nice song, and yeah, there's probably a little bit of a story to it, but it's nothing like musicals where it's really thought out. And I've done so many acting classes, analyzing these songs, and it's really amazing how these composers really think through how the music will go with the characters. And I think music in general, also just the actual orchestral part of it, the instrumental part of it is a really big factor of it too. Even in movies, you may kind of forget that it's there, but all of the orchestral music that really helps tell the story. It's the same in theater, but it's again, there's just something about being there. And I mean, not a lot of shows use live bands, but a lot of local shows don't use live bands, but hopefully professional productions do use live bands because, again, it's just so different. It's the same feeling as listening, rather going to a concert rather than listening to a song on the radio, right? It just feels so much different, and again, you're just so connected, and you can really feel the music and really be brought into the story. And I think, music theory is really interesting to me, and how different chords can make things sound sad or happy or unsettling, or I think it's really interesting how that works, and how much that makes a story. So even if I'm not going to see a musical, like even if I'm going to see a play, the play having like good music behind it is really important to me. I think it really helps tell the story and helps it speak to me personally a little bit more because I'm so connected to music, and I know a lot of people are connected to music. So I would definitely, obviously there's a lot of shows that are kind of like you get a lot of Disney shows, like Disney theater shows that are kind of surface level, everyone's happy, but I think the sadder shows is really where the music can speak to you a little bit more. I don't think it's interesting because I don't think I've been to a show where I haven't cried at the end, because just like this is such a beautiful thing that I've just experienced. But like as far as, crying when I'm supposed to cry in the show, during the sad moments, I think the music and obviously the acting is really important too, but the music helps, it helps the actor. I know personally as an actor I get a lot of feelings from the music of how like a lot of instincts on how I'm gonna perform a certain song or role or whatever. So continuing with that, I think music obviously will speak to people in different ways depending on kind of the style of the music. One of the reasons why I like contemporary musical theater a little bit more, and contemporary just means more modern theater as opposed to like classic theater, like, The Sound of Music, or like, I don't know, Oklahoma, like, old shows, Hello Dolly. Those are the ones I can think of the top of my head, but stuff like that, more modern stuff opposed to that. I think more like modernly, a lot of musicals are kind of shying away from that initial like classic theater sound, and they're kind of finding their own sound. And I think that's really cool because they're finding ways to speak to different people in different ways. I love like acoustic shows that have a lot of guitar. I don't know the best way to describe them. I guess the best way I would describe them as like acoustic music shows. Those really get to me, such as Hadestown in 100 Days. I'll talk about these shows a little bit later. And also rock musicals. I love rock musicals. Those are my favorite to be in, are rock musicals. Because it's so interesting how it can show such you can be super happy or super sad, so I'd love to look. I don't know a ton of them right now, but I have noticed that the ones that I do know of, have tended to be my favorite shows, both to listen to watch, to be in, all of that. So, I think that's everything I wanted to cover in music. Next, I'm going to talk about lighting and special effects. Obviously, this is becoming, technology has become more advanced over the years, right? Since, classic theater, it's really incredible what you can do with lighting and projections now that just bring the story to life. Lighting is probably my favorite technical aspect of theater. Because I love it when, after I've been in a rehearsal room for a few months, right, and we don't have any lighting, or it's just regular, white, but I think it's interesting, along with the music, is how much the lighting can help convey the story with the tones and kind of, the movements and stuff. You can have like a spotlight on someone as everyone else is like moving around them to kind of isolate them. There's just so many different tricks that you can do with lighting and like projection things. Some of the standout productions that I saw was, most recently I saw To the Yellow House, which was a play at the La Jolla Playhouse, and I thought it was just incredible. They had these paint strokes, like projections in the background that would like swirl around, and they would change because the show was about Van Gogh. So, you know, throughout the story, it would change to show what's going on in Van Gogh's life, and it kind of evolved with him as he evolved as an artist. And I thought that was really cool. And also, yeah, they were able to like, spotlight certain people, and it was just really, it's hard to put it into words. And another show that I really loved the lighting for was Dear Evan Hansen. I saw the tour when it came here a couple years ago, pre-COVID. And I thought it was really well done. As far as, a lot of Dear Evan Hansen is based on like, going viral on the internet and stuff like that. And they had these like pillars of projections that would show like different text messages or different text messages or posts going viral, and it was kind of all around Evan and the other characters. And there are only 9 characters in the show, I believe, and only 4 or 5 of them, 5 of them are kids. So teenagers, I should say. So like it really made this school that he was at feel, occupied, I guess. I can't think of the right word. Populated, I don't know. But it really felt like there were a lot of people at this school when they're in the show. There were only, 5. So I thought that was really cool how they kind of brought it to life without having a million people on stage. And also they were able to show a lot of, I think that also helped to show, Evan, because he's kind of alone. He didn't really have much friends. I think that also helped to show that, but that doesn't really have to do with lighting. But yeah, I just thought the lighting of that was phenomenal, and those are the main ones that stand out to me. But yeah, lighting just in general is one of my favorite parts of theater, and as technology advances, you can do so many more things with it, and it's truly an art in itself now. And I think it's so cool to see that in shows. So now I'm gonna move on to kind of talking about my favorite musicals and why I think they're great, and what I love about them and the elements that I like about them. The first one I'm gonna tackle is Hamilton. And Hamilton, I feel like, I'm not going to say it's underrated, because obviously pretty much everyone knows about Hamilton. People who aren't into theater have listened to Hamilton. Everyone has at least heard of it, or has listened to the music, and a lot of people love it. But a lot of people don't take the time to like, they just hear like, oh wow, this is really good music, right? But then when you really look and analyze Hamilton and see all of the little details that went into this show, it was just such a masterpiece. I remember watching it on Disney Plus, and I was just like in awe the whole time of everything. And I've listened to a lot of like commentary videos on YouTube talking about all the details in the show, and I continue to discover new things about it. A lot of the details come in the choreography, which is incredible. Definitely on my theater bucket list to be in the ensemble of Hamilton. The choreography is just phenomenal, but it also does a great job of telling the story and showing how, and helping, show how the characters are feeling with dance, which is really, really cool. And that's another thing that I love about contemporary theater, is how dance is evolving from like the classic like showy dance, like I think like a chorus line and that type of choreography, where I guess showy is the best way to do it. Where now the dance is becoming a part of the story rather than just something that happens in the show. And I think that's really cool. As someone who, loves dance, I love it so much. And I think it's a really cool way to feel the show through your whole body. But yeah. Sorry. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, even like little details in the choreography, like every character is choreographed to walk in a different way. Like Hamilton always walks in straight lines, while Burr kind of, doesn't. He kind of walks around other people. I thought that was really interesting. Just like little things. And also in the music of Hamilton, there's a lot of, repeating melodies and motifs that you can that you'll hear throughout the story for different events and songs, and you'll hear it when that character comes on stage, and then you'll subconsciously think about it whenever you hear that melody, even if it's kind of hidden in the background. You can hear it's kind of helps foreshadow the events of the show, and just like it's just an incredible piece of theater as a whole. And I'm so glad that a lot of people have found it, and it's also helped bring a lot of popularity to theater. Like I feel like Hamilton is probably the most popular musical like amongst my generation right now, and most well known, and I'm glad that it's helping to shed light and bring light to theater and all it can do. So I already talked about Dear Evan Hansen, so there's not much else I want to talk about for that one, because my favorite parts are the technical aspects, but also with that one, the music is really powerful, but it's just it's pretty. Next, we're going to talk about Hadestown. This is one of the acoustic musicals I was talking about, and Hadestown is just a lot different from anything else that you see. It kind of has this like New Orleans style music, not fully, but like it's inspired by that for sure. And that's another show that uses motifs and melodies throughout the show, and they also use a lot of choreography. It's not quite as detailed as Hamilton's choreography, but it's still really well thought out and really helps bring the story to light. Also the harmonies in Hadestown stand out to me a lot, because harmonies really, I don't know, they just give you chills when they're done like right, and you can make them have like such different feelings, and it's so interesting. And harmonies are really hard to do, but they sound so good, and they really make a show. Let's see. Jagged Little Pill, that's the Alanis Morissette jukebox musical that unfortunately just closed on Broadway because of COVID, and I was really sad because I was going to go see it. But it's okay, I guess. Gotta stay safe. But I think a big thing, again, that stands out to me in Jagged Little Pill is the choreography. But in Jagged Little Pill specifically, it's not like it's not really dance, it's more movement, and I think that's how it's kind of described in the show program too, I believe, is it's just more kind of movement. So it's not quite dance, it's just like everyone's bodies just like flowed with the music. I don't know how to describe it, but I mean, you'll see common themes of my favorite parts of theater, obviously the music and things related to the music, including dance and acting through song and stuff. That's kind of a common thread throughout these musicals, but yeah. Let's see, 100 Days. Now, 100 Days was something, it's not well known at all. I'm pretty sure it just had an off-Broadway run. It's more of a concert with a story, rather than a musical. Like, they're kind of acting, but it's not fully staged. They're just kind of standing there and singing, but, I've never seen the show. I've never seen a recording of the show. I've only listened to the soundtrack, but I thought it was just amazing. It's I don't know if I mentioned this already, but it's another acoustic kind of show, and also the harmonies are beautiful, and it's another example of kind of how theater it has evolved so much, and how it's always changing, because like it's not even a full musical, but then they still tell this story so well. And I was even analyzing a little bit, and just hearing there's a repeated use of this like clicking sound to represent like a moment passing by, and I just thought, wow, it's a very moving story, and it's also just, there's something so calming about listening to it. But I would love to see that show live, because I think the music just does such a good job of keeping your attention the whole time and having you be on edge the whole time, waiting what's going to happen next. And I would love to see this show live if it's ever produced again. I don't know if that's going to happen, because again, it's not a full stage show, but going back to what I was saying earlier, it's just such an example of how like all of the cool things you can do related to theater, that a lot of people are breaking the mold of what it used to be. And I think that's why I have such an appreciation for contemporary, more modern theater than more classical theater. And it all depends on the person, and what speaks to you. I have a friend, she doesn't only like more classic theater, but she tends to lean more towards it, and to each their own. It's obviously personal preference, but I think in terms of who would be interested in theater today, I think more people are leaning towards more contemporary theater, because it's just finding better ways to speak to people, and more relatable ways to speak to people. Bear, a pop opera. This is another show. It does a really good job of balancing like really upbeat and songs you want to dance to, and like really heartbreaking songs, but it all flows together so nicely. And it is an opera, which means that it's not the traditional sense of an opera. Usually with an opera you think, oh, that type of opera, but an opera simply just means that it's a completely sung through show, or pretty much all sung through. There's not a ton of and if there is little just talking scenes, it's very short, and it's while the music is still playing. So Barra Pop Opera does a really good job of keeping the story moving and keeping it interesting when they don't really have any breaks. It just kind of all flows into each other, and it does a really good job of that. I wish a lot of people would listen to it, because I love the music. It is a very sad musical. I listened to it a lot during quarantine, and I'm like, why am I so sad? And I'm like, oh yeah, because you've listened to this really depressing musical every day for the past, couple weeks. So maybe don't do that, but I would definitely recommend listening to it, and I think there's a video of an LA production online too, so strongly recommend. And the last one that I'm going to be talking about today is Tanner Maverick's Book of Sound, which is the show that I was in last summer, and this is by far my favorite musical, period. Whether I was in it or not, it would be my favorite musical. It's everything that I want from a musical, and I think that my generation wants out of a musical. The songs are so just great. The songs are a major part of the story, because one of the characters basically wrote all of the songs in the show, and it's really cool how again, there's a lot of songs that you want to get up and dance to, and then there's just these really kind of heartbreaking songs that you want to cry. And I think Tanner Maverick also has a really good balance of telling a moving story with a lot of it has a lot of dark undertones, but there's also a lot of documentary in it, and you can be laughing so hard one second and then be crying the next. It does such a good job of doing that, of making sure that you're not too sad, but you're still bringing light to these issues, and you really feel connected to all the characters. I think also the harmonies are a really big part of the show too. The harmonies are insane in some of the songs, and if you've ever heard some of these songs, we had I don't know, some of the songs we had 6-part harmonies, and if you've ever heard that before, it's just, I don't know how to describe it, but it just has such a way of putting you in the story. I don't know. I feel like harmonies are another big part of live theater, because, they just bring you in. It's like the harmonies are coming at you and grabbing you and hugging you. I don't know. That's the best way I can think of to describe it, but they almost fill the room with the story. And also the lighting as well. Again, one of my favorite parts of theater is the lighting. So the lighting in Tanner Maverick was also incredible. It went with the music. It shed light on people when it needed to. I don't know how much more I can say about it, because I think I've basically said all my thoughts before, but basically kind of summing up everything that I've said before, what I think just makes a great musical is with something that you a great story that is something that you can relate to, great music that helps tell that story, choreography that's not just there for dance, just there so that there's dance in the show, but also there to help tell the story, and also technical elements. It's kind of all of these modern things coming together to just tell the story better. And so I hope that was a great summary of kind of why I love theater and some of my favorite things about it, and why I'm so passionate about it. So I really hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.